Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show, Inspired by a Message. We are your hosts, Jae and Brad, and we're super excited to have you on our show today.
Yes,
Brad?
we definitely are, and we thought it would only be fitting for our very first episode here on Inspired by a Message to talk about entrepreneurship, which is a topic that's very near and dear to our hearts. We've had a very colorful journey along the way. Both of us had military backgrounds, and we sought out a career serving our country, and that moved on to business ownership and how to incorporate that into a family life. It's just a very, very interesting topic that we felt that for our very first episode we would cover that. So Jay, I want to start out with you. Tell us a little bit about entrepreneurship and how you got into the field.
Well, I think that's the biggest reason why I got into this. It was my family. My grandparents had 15 children from Dominican Republic. And so when our family came here, we were really poor. We were in the ghetto. We didn't have a lot of money. My mom, she was a single mother and she didn't speak English, so it was really hard for her and her brothers and sisters to kind of acclimate to the US. This was their second language. But one of the things that I found with my family is that they were very, very resourceful. They were very entrepreneurs at heart. So initially we had my aunt, who's the oldest, and she would take us to the flea market. And I remember being really, really small in the flea market, and I had no concept of what she was doing. I just knew, okay, she used to go to the flea market to sell. And then her daughter, who essentially got her own store, and now she became a clothing connoisseur and selling clothes. So it was really interesting because at that time, to me, it was just a place to play and a place to have fun, but I had no idea that they were the epitome of what a small business is today. So for me, my biggest takeaway was really that there's nothing you can't do. I mean, these are people who didn't speak the language, were in a foreign country, and were still able to make something out of nothing.
Right. Yeah, and it resonates with me on so many different levels. I mentioned the military, and that's where we met. And at that time and space, for me, it was more about a career than anything else. I was very content. I was very happy. At that point, I had done well over 12 years, and I was looking for that next phase. And
Right.
I fully was prepared to retire from the military and maybe work a part-time job somewhere, but really start enjoying life. But one of the things that happened to me, I'll never forget. One of my mentors had retired, and I noticed that the time that he thought he would have, it was not there. And one of the biggest lessons in life that I learned, is time. Time is our most valuable asset.
That's true.
And, once it's gone, it's gone. You spend that time doing things, you always assume that you'll have more time, to do the things you want to do versus the things you have to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, but it requires a level of persistence, consistency, and you have to have a plan. Those people that in my mind go through life with a mindset to just work and work and work for someone else and make someone else money, that just didn't work for me.
Right.
So I started opening up, and just as opportunity presented itself, I met some really, really good people that exposed me to home-based businesses, which really just changed my whole concept. Because everybody that I knew, like your family, for me, it was just the opposite. They weren't entrepreneurs per se. They were more linear income structure. They work 9 to 5. You don't work, you don't get paid.
Sure.
So when I saw this other opportunity, for me, it was like mind blowing. Like, oh my goodness, this is a whole nother world that I haven't, had access to. I've never experienced. So I was excited about it. And for me, making that transition and dabbling in home-based businesses, it really sparked a fire in me. And I think, it sparked a fire in you a little bit too once we started seeing success in what we were doing. I think we both really started to see the possibilities were limitless as to what we can do as entrepreneurs together, not only as husband and wife, but as a couple.
Yeah, and I mean, that really sounds hunky-dory now that we can say we've had success, but the reality is I was not interested in anything that had to do with either network marketing or MLM. To me, my mother was that linear income person. So she was the person who said, you need to go to school, you need to go to more school and then find a good job. And then if you don't have a good job, go back to school so then you can so I have enough degrees, and as my friend used to say, I have more degrees than a thermometer, but that doesn't necessarily secure a job. And so that's something that I had to learn the hard way because I was such a gun-ho Marine, and I did over a decade in the Marine Corps, and I was excited about retiring, and I had that linear income mindset that I could just not get out of my system. So when we partnered, it wasn't like we partnered. It was more like you had a vision and I was fighting you every step of the way. And so I can't imagine how hard that was for you, but eventually I came around, not because we saw so much success, but to me it was because of the people's lives that we changed along the way. Because there were now people who I saw who were mentoring us who were saying, hey, you don't have to dedicate 40 hours a week to somebody else's dream when you can do that for yourself. And it took forever for me to get that concept. Like, it was so difficult, but when I did, it was so refreshing. Because now I said, man, if I could do anything in the world and do it all day, what would that be? And for me, it was, let's change some lives. Let's get back to the community. Let's donate. Let's help some people. And really, it was about changing that mindset that had been plaguing me all my years, and now being open-minded to different concepts. I think that was the biggest thing that you and working with a partner did for me. It was just about being open-minded to fail and try again and keep going in a way that I had never been challenged to do before.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point. Once you're there and you're able to see how you impact other people's lives. I've seen so many horror stories. People that are in business. You mentioned the network marketing piece. When we did that, it sometimes can give you a bad rep. It can give you bad experiences. It just really depends on the people.
Sure.
So I think if you go into it with the intention to help people, the intention to be honest, have a sense of integrity behind you,
absolutely,
then you'll find your way. We all slip, trip, and fall through any manner of business, whether it's a traditional brick and mortar business, a home-based business, internet-based business. You're going to have challenges, but if the intention is there, then I think you'll find your way, and you can impact some people. And we've been blessed enough to do that. Our travels in the military led us to Korea. We've been all over the United States, and we've done some really, really big things. And we've helped a lot of people. We've always said when money is not an issue in your life anymore, things become a lot easier. For us, it's really allowed us to give back to the communities, like you said, and inspire some people to say, you know what, I really, really like those individuals and I like what they're doing. When I first went to the very first network marketing convention that I was a part of, I was sitting next to the guy that introduced me to it. and we were there, and it was a great convention. And one of the gentlemen that was speaking to it was a stadium full of people. He shared a story, his story, his journey, his success, and I'll never forget it because it touched me in a way that, you know, I wasn't prepared for. I felt like, you know, I knew it all. I was sold on it. I liked everything I was doing, but I heard his story and it really impacted me, you know, in a very positive way. You know, the things that he said resonated with me. I felt like he was speaking to me, you know, and his challenges.
What were your biggest takeaways?
He talked about the hurdles. He talked about, you know, a lot of the pitfalls. You know, a lot of people look at entrepreneurship, and again, this is not just centered around network marketing or home-based businesses, but, you know, you see success stories. You know, this could be in entertainment, this can be in sports, it can be whatever. You know, we're always focused and fixated on the success,
right,
the end state.
Right.
But the real essence of that person's success is in their journey. How that person got from the beginning to, you know, the end, so on, you know, so some people would say the beginning of their success.
Right.
But, you know, that's where a lot of focus is placed on how LeBron James became LeBron James, how Beyonce, you know, became Beyonce. That's where it's at, not, you know, the latest album that's out or the most recent championship that was won.
Right.
And that was the story that he told. And for me, that's what I had to put emphasis on, my journey. You know, somebody told you, oh, you're going to make millions, you're going to be a billionaire, you know, and so many people get caught up in that end state, they forget about the journey on how they're going to get there and embracing that journey, which requires a whole lot of effort, a lot of focus, and a lot of persistence. So that's what I pulled from that. And later on, I found myself speaking in front of a room full of people, and somebody stopped me after I was done, and this is maybe 2 years later. We had hit, you know, top position in the company, and, you know, I was speaking at an event, and the individual came to me and he said, wow, everything you said, it just resonated with me. And you hit me on something else. So that's the other beauty behind it. You know, there's so many people that people you're going to touch that you don't even know that you're touching. You know what I mean? It's in many ways very satisfying.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important. I think as you were speaking, there was one thing that really resonated with me is how people are always looking at the end success. But I've heard this great quote recently that I want to share. It says, it takes 10 years to create an overnight success. So really, you see somebody that is now hot and they're current, and you're like, where did this person come from? But you have no idea that they've been working years to get to where they are now. So I think that that's so important. And the other thing too is that you, like you said, you have no idea how your story is going to inspire somebody. And I think that was the crux of us creating this company, Inspired by a Message, and also just the show and everything that we get behind. It's about different ways of inspiring people. And so I think that's a big deal to me, because I always want people to know that I didn't get here by myself. The reason why I'm here is because there's a legacy of people who have inspired me, who have taught me, who have raised me to be this person. And the only thing I want to do is just kind of pass that on and pay it forward. And so let me share a little story with you and our viewers. So over the weekend, I was at a barber shop, and there was this gentleman. He was talking about how he had gotten in this car accident. He actually came in crutches. He's like, I broke my leg and 6 ribs were broken. And he was just talking to his barber. He had no idea that I was listening in on the conversation. And he was like, man, I have to pay $70,000 in medical bills because I don't have insurance. And actually, his mom drove him there. This is a grown man. His mom drove him to the barbershop. So after I paid for our son's haircut, I asked his barber, I said, hey, how much are you charging him for his haircut? He said $15. So I gave the barber a $20 bill. And the guy was like, no, no, you don't have to do that. I'm like, I know. But he's like, but why? And I'm like, your story just touched me. You inspire me. Like, you're so thankful to just be alive and be here. I feel like I just want to give a little bit of something. This is not much, but I want to give you a little bit of something back. And he almost went into tears. So it's almost like you never know. And that story from him was just inspiration for me to keep going and be happy that I'm not on crutches, or be happy that I wasn't in a car accident. Just that small thing. So I think those are like big things to consider, and just to keep paying forward as you often do with everybody that you encounter, actually.
Yeah. I mean, that story is profound, and I think that's a great example of what it's like to be in a position to pay it forward and help somebody. And you never know what form it's going to come in. The person that you help may not be the person that helps you. They may help somebody else. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. But we find solace in the fact that at some point, somebody is going to be there, right at the point where you need them the most.
Absolutely.
And though you may be the one that's giving that monetary gift, or words of encouragement or whatever, sometimes, and in many cases, like you, just because you're giving doesn't mean that you're not getting back.
That's true.
You got something back from giving to that individual, which is profound. I experienced that many times over in many different scenarios in the military, as well as our transition out. And I think that's something we have to continue to do. It's our responsibility, I think. Every encounter, every opportunity, every chance, every person that we meet, if there is a way we can impact that individual positively, we've got to do it. You know what I mean? And one other thing I would say, Jaden was there with you.
So he was able to see it.
He was able to see it as well. So guess what that did for him? You just impacted him in seeing, that action that his mom, decided to help another individual because she was in a position to do it. Not because she was getting something in return.
That's true.
But because, it was the right thing to do.
That's so true. And I think it's motivation now for us to be in a position where we can help people, because we've been in situations where $20, like The Pursuit of Happiness, where Will Smith had to take out $5 for his boss, $20 was a big deal for him. And we've been in situations where $20 have been a huge significant deal for us to even give up. And those are stories that a lot of people don't know, but we had to struggle. And I think the hardest thing for me was working with my spouse as my business partner, because it was difficult to separate between, okay, I'm emotionally attached to you, but we have to come together to do this business. I don't like how you're talking to me. My boss would never talk to me like that. And so now you have all these different kind of realms that you're dealing with. And and it became kind of like a tug of war. So I think when we got to a good place was when we were able to communicate effectively and now say, okay, we have a mission that's way bigger than us. And so now we have to kind of come together to a great place to make that happen, because there are people who we may know and who we may not know who are relying on us to kind of buckle down and do what we have to do to make this happen.
Yeah. And just to kind of capstone this whole thing in a sense, everything we've talked about, entrepreneurship, our individual experiences and our journeys, at the end of the day, we all have our passions. We all have our dreams in life. Not knocking anybody that's content with working a job and so on and so forth. But, for those individuals out there that are looking for something else,
the dreamers.
Looking for, dreamers. I mean, it's all relative. It just depends on the person and where they are in their journey. But understand that there's always going to be challenge in whatever you do. Even if you're working a job, if you want to get promoted in that job, you know, there are going to be challenges, there are going to be hurdles and struggles, and, you know, you can't fight that.
Yeah.
At every sign of adversity, you can't run away. You can't turn a blind eye. And one thing that you've said, you know, in the past that I've always liked, you know, two things. One, you used to say, hey, you know, we need to be relentless. You know, we need to be, you know, soldiers. We need to, you know, really, really buckle down and focus on what we're doing. And, you know, I ran with that word relentless. And the other part is challenge. You know, when you're faced with the challenge, you don't turn around and run from it. You face it head on. And, you know, if more people did that and embraced it in their lifestyles and their primary source of income, whatever it may be, then they will find massive success in whatever it is they're doing, and they'll be able to touch and help people, and, you know, all of the things that we've talked about in this episode. You know, so my final message is to just embrace that challenge, embrace those struggles, embrace the hurdles of whatever it is you choose to do in life. And know that, you know, if you stick with it, if you remain vigilant and persistent in your goals, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, but I think we have to take it a step deeper, right? I think it's about belief. Like, you really have to believe in yourself to the point where if somebody tells you, I don't want that, I'm good, or whatever the case, if I'm selling this coffee mug and they're like, oh, well, I don't like the orange lines on there. So that doesn't mean that you're not good at what you do. It's just this is not for them. And that's okay. But you have to believe in yourself to the point where it doesn't matter who or what comes your way. It doesn't matter if somebody tells you, oh, your hair's too straight, or your voice is too squeaky. You're never going to make it. I mean, some of the best stories that we know are from people who've been told they're not going to make it. The CEO from Starbucks, oh, that's a dumb idea. Apple, Steve Jobs. I mean, come
Uber.
on. Uber. There are countless and countless stories that we can refer back to where people have been told no numerous times. Oprah Winfrey was told, oh, well, you don't look a certain way, or you don't sound a certain way. And she defeated the odds and did what other women at that time were not able to do.
Weren't even thinking about it.
So really, it's all about, what do you want to do? Who are you? Do you believe in yourself so much, or to the point that it doesn't matter who or what gets in your way, you're still going to make it happen? And what is that driving motivation for you? So for me, it's about getting my time back, about being able to spend time with our family, being able, and I hate being told what to do. So I don't want to be in a job where somebody who is less qualified than me is telling me what to do. I want to be my own boss. And that's not everybody's life. But at the end of the day, try to make it as fruitful and as inspiring and as awesome as you want it to be, because you only have one life to live. I cannot stress that enough. So don't spend it doing something that you don't enjoy, even if it's 2 hours a day. Devote it to doing something that you love, something for you. Do you agree with that message?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I stated it before, time is our most valuable asset. So yeah, you definitely want to be in a position where, you know, you're making good choices to give you that enjoyment, to give you that time, and to find satisfaction.
Right.
You know, one of the messages that we send to people is, you know, are you building your legacy? Are you contributing to that legacy? You know, once your time here on this earth is done, you know, personally, I look back on my kids, you know what I mean? And I look at what I'm leaving behind for them in terms of not just materialistic things, you know, monetary value, but am I imposing knowledge on them? Am I preparing them for life? And, you know, are they going to be able to take that ball, you know, that legacy ball, and run with it and take our family to the next level and, you know, really elevate where we are as a family and where we are as a society,
Right.
and be a contributing factor.
Absolutely.
So, those are all important things, and it takes time. And I feel that at this point in my life, our time is being spent very, very wisely. This show and what it embodies is time in my mind that's well spent. We're here to just talk about things that we feel impact other people, and are things that we've seen and we've discussed with others, and hopefully the time that we're spending here is going to do just that, help other people the way it's helped us.
Absolutely. So, okay, real quick, we have a few seconds. What would you say is the one message that resonates with you today?
Oh, absolutely. The message today is, it's a quote that I read, and I mentioned it in the episode today. Is, success is by no stretch of the imagination a destination. It's a journey. So embrace the journey.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Please check us out on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. We're also on Instagram. Follow us, tweet us, I don't know what else, thumb us, like us, everything.
SOS, smoke signals. Yeah.
Smoke signals, all that. And we will see you on the next show. Thanks for being here. Bye. Hey family, if you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to follow Inspired by a Message on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We would love to hear your story and any story that has inspired you with a message. So like us and check us out. Can't wait to hear from you. Bye-bye.